To make them think that it's reality.
Well, dreams, they feel real while we're in them, right? It's only when we wake up that we realize something's actually strange.
Welcome in, everybody. Another week, another dream.
Or dreams.
Welcome to QCO Podcast, Dream-isode. Danny, Travis, and Alan here to provide you with these sweet dream tales brought from Danny's subconscious. So,
Fresh out of box.
yeah.
Is that how you say it? Fresh out of box?
I don't know. Why are you saying fresh out of the box?
What's that?
Is that like Taco
Sometimes
Bell?
he just says things like, I don't know what you mean. Like, I mean,
Fresh out of box.
Is it fresh out of box? Like, is that it? I'm like, well, yeah, maybe that's a saying, but like, why? Why are you saying it?
Like, isn't there like a... Oh, yeah. The show's called Fresh Off the Boat.
Is that where you got it from?
Fresh out the box. Fresh off the boat. I don't know. It just popped in my head. I
So he
said it.
Couldn't take it back.
I was in an awkward situation.
Fresh off the head of lettuce.
Yeah, it's called salad.
All right, Kate.
Boom.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to our last Dream-isode, where we found Daniel. He's swimming in pools with crabs. With crabs. We saw
Crabs in his drawers.
Danny had crabs, and then he went swimming, and then
Which, don't go swimming
everybody
after
then
that.
got crabs after that. So
mischievous crabs.
Just listen and you'll see that it wasn't exactly like that. The crabs were of alien
nature.
origin.
So it was some foreign
Crabs.
It's some foreign crabs.
I found them in my drawers.
So this week we've done this a couple of times before, where he's had some dreams, not quite long enough or big enough to make a full episode. So we've done what he calls Dream Snips, and
Glad that you say it right, Trav.
So it's funny
Dream Snips
because
Collection.
last night we were talking on the phone, and he was telling me that he had two of them, and he's like, "Well, I just need one more Dream Snip, and then we could have a full other compilation for an episode." And then today he's prepared, so he had a Dream Snip dream last night, and here we are. We've got three tales for you, three dreams that we'll be going through that are short in stature.
I'm trying to remember what they were. So we call them Dream Snips Collection.
This is volume 3 of
three,
Dream
right?
Snips.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, here we go. Got three of them for you, and this is the first one here, titled... What? That's not what it's titled.
I was like, wait, I don't remember titling it that. So wait, this is Dream Snippet
This is Dream
7?
Snip number 7, and it's titled Tsunami in Salt Lake City or Tsunami in SLC. Not only is it okay, if you're unaware, he's already had a dream. This was earlier on.
It was number 6.
Number 6, a dream about a tsunami.
And what was it called?
Tsunami! But now it's Tsunami in Salt Lake City!
This was more specific.
But so not only is it that, but he also has graced us with his now famous I don't even call them like his little
pre-notes
of just so that he can prep us for what
preface?
a preface so that we made
Pre-notes. Prep us. Guys, it's preface.
Thank you. Sometimes we forget words. So here we go. In the preface. As per usual, if I use a preface, actually, you even put it in. You even put it in there.
I wrote this one a while ago.
As per usual, if I use a preface to a dream, it is to inform those who many not be in the know about a particular element of my dream. For this dream, keep in mind that Salt Lake City has one decent-sized body of water located near it, the Great Salt Lake.
How could you guess that from the name Salt Lake City?
The Great Salt
It's
Lake.
in the name.
The Great Salt Lake is located to the west of the city. To the east are the mountains. The lake itself is very shallow compared to most other lakes its size in the world. Suffice it to say that the probability of a tsunami-type wave forming from this lake are near zero. And a tsunami hitting the city from the east, well, let's say it's less than the probability mentioned above. So he just wants you to like, I know I was dreaming, but just so you know, I am a logical person. And I know that like a tsunami couldn't actually hit us here in Salt Lake City.
I forgot I wrote that, but it's true. It is very shallow for a lake its size.
Just so you know, it's so what's the word?
Shallow? Salty?
I was going to say salty. I was going to say saluted. Is that a word?
Saluted? No.
The salinity level is very high.
Yes, so you could actually go out there and just kind of like float there. It's kind of like the Dead
It's
Sea.
like saluted, polluted with salt.
Yeah, saluted.
Well, I don't know. I've never actually witnessed this, but I've heard people say that you could actually go out there with a sleeping bag and just float and sleep on top of the Great Salt Lake.
I don't know if you can do that. I don't think it's that.
I think we should. You should try it, Trav. We'll record it and post it on YouTube.
Cookie. That lake is uber gross. I don't like to go there. It's so. All right. My recollection begins with me standing behind the teller line at work. He's also at work a lot, and for whatever reason, like, are you ever in the teller line at work?
No.
Yet you are there so often in your dreams.
I mean, back in the day, like 20 years ago when I first started in banking, but not so much in the last 15 years.
So, did you start in banking when you were like 17?
All right. So, like 17 years ago, whatever.
All right. Okay. You see, I work as a teller for a bank located in downtown Salt Lake City. We must have been having issues with counterfeit bills recently, as corporate has sent a trainer to our office this morning to teach us how to better identify fraudulent bills.
You take this marker and you mark it. And if it's a weird color, it's fake. End of lesson.
That is correct.
I stand there listening to her lecture for a few moments when she decides to break up the lesson with a hands-on activity. She pulls out a large case that is full of funny money and hands a stack of these bills to each of us. These bills are about the size of a full sheet of paper, but perhaps a little narrower.
So these are giant, like a giant deck of cards type.
Yeah. Giant bill.
It's like the bills are like probably like a good 11 to 12 inches long.
She's like now
maybe
what's the
6
difference
inches
between
wide.
this and real money? If I had to guess, I'd say each bill was roughly 11 inches by 6 inches. So basically
I
like your
just said that.
normal piece of paper, pretty much. Although the normal piece of paper, I think, is 11 by 8, but whatever. Much bigger than real
Actually,
bills.
It's 11 by 8 or 11 and a half by 8.
8.5. That's right. Okay.
Or something like that, right?
Thank you
11
for
by 8.5.
correcting me on something so just so stupid. Much bigger than real bills, anyway. Not only are these bills oversized, but they are all for very odd amounts. For example, I had a $2,700 bill and a $31,182.23 bill. The trainer goes on and asks us to identify which bills are fake and which are real. All of them?
How did he get this job? This is the easiest job. It's like,
Does she think you guys are like kindergartners? Which one of these is real money? Here's a $5 bill with Lincoln on it. Here's a $2,700 bill the size of a normal piece of paper with Michael Jackson. The trainer goes on and
like,
asks...
they're all fake. They look nothing like what I collected when I passed go.
Friggin' Monopoly, man. The trainer goes on and asks us to identify which bills are fake and which are real. I look at her and say, all of these bills are fake. She looks back at me and says, are they? How sure are you? What is this, like a magic trick? At this point, I'm not quite sure what to say back. The next few minutes are spent with the bank staff, all of whom are holding a stack of these ridiculously large bills, yelling random denominations of bills we had in our hands and laughing about them. I tell everyone about my $31,182.23 bill, and they all agree that mine is the strangest, and therefore I win the strange bill contest. What? So stupid.
He has to build himself up so much in
Do you know what I deal with on a daily with my children? Is that my daughter will come up with some stupid contest and she'll do it, whatever, and be like, I win. And then my son freaks out because he's like, number one, I didn't even know what you're doing. But because of that, I'm like super pissed that you won. And so then I was like, nobody wins. It's not a contest. I don't know what you guys are doing, but it's not a contest. Like, they make me like, first one to hug dad wins. And they like both run over. Like, great, I want hugs from my kids. But I don't want them running at me and just going like punching each other, just trying to hug me and crying by the time they get to me.
So you're saying your son is like in Dumb and Dumber, where it's like, you can't triple stamp a double stamp.
You can't triple stamp
a double stamp. Lloyd.
Basically.
I know how you feel. My daughter and son are the exact same way. London is always coming up with shenanigans.
I think we've kind of figured out that our children are basically the same people.
Pretty much.
But anyway, later that day, after we had all finished our training, we were escorted outside into the parking lot for a counterfeit bill training graduation. Corporate was kind enough to loan us a small wooden platform that had been set up in the middle of the parking lot facing west. This gave each of us a raised place to step onto and receive our training completion certificates.
You
Of
know,
course.
so you feel like better because you get to go up a step.
And what do they do? Like play like.
Daniel
Barnes.
You have completed fake currency training.
Graduated high honors, magna cum laude.
You have successfully identified all of the bills were indeed counterfeit.
But it's just a single step, right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
You get on it, you're like, I thought it would be higher. They're like, sorry, we only had enough money to splurge for the bronze medal winner platform.
But yeah, the whole platform is like, it's like a 12-inch step up. And that was it.
Of course, before the actual
So 1
handing.
foot.
What?
He said 12-inch
Oh.
step. It's just 1 foot.
Yes, well done.
Good job.
Wait, do the
We know
graduation music again. Congratulations, Alan Barnes, for correctly guessing that 12 inches equals 1 foot.
Yeah. Of course, before the actual handing out of the certificates could commence, our training instructor decided it would be best if she made a commencement speech first. While she spoke her words of wisdom, I couldn't help but notice that a giant wave had just crested a few blocks. What? I couldn't help but notice that a giant wave had just crested a few blocks to the east of us, exposing itself over the taller buildings located at the edge of the city. I get so much joy when you just forget to put an S on something. I quickly stood up and began shouting, warning everyone at what I had just seen, telling them that we all need to leave now.
You said that?
Yes. He
Again, Danny is the one who is in charge of saving everybody from a tsunami.
How is he the only one that sees a giant flipping wave that had,
Well, it's probably because of my previous tsunami training.
that had just crested a fluke?
Danny's like, quick, to the laundry baskets.
Don't worry, guys. I know how to make boats.
Just need baskets and a towel.
Warning everyone what I had just seen, telling them that we all need to leave now. However, not one person moved a muscle. They began to tell me that they had not yet received their certificate of completion and that they would not leave without it. Internally, I thought to myself, screw the certificate. I'm out of here. I then took off running as fast as I could in the opposite direction that I had seen the wave cresting from. I ran through alleyways, parking lots, and yards, really anywhere I had to get away from the wave more rapidly. As I ran, I would occasionally look over my shoulder to see if the surging water was gaining on me. I could see windows on buildings explode simultaneously as the pressure from the water impacted the structures. A few minutes later, I had run far enough that I figured the water would be dissipating by the time it got to me. Well, granted that there literally is very few, I mean, like we already talked about how the lake is very shallow. I mean, from what it used to be, there's like hardly even a lake left. So, unfortunately, that is the same moment when I saw another flood of water rushing through the city from the other direction. Apparently, 2 tsunami waves had hit the city at the same time, one from the east and one from the west. Running out of options of where to go, I backtracked a block or two. How long is it taking these waves to get to? He backtracked a block or two.
Which is what in Salt Lake is it? Is it
Or
like
perhaps-
8 blocks is a mile or something like that?
Yeah.
So it's like,
It's like a quarter mile.
yeah.
And perhaps I'm a super fast runner.
So he backtracked a block or two and eventually found an elevated brick garden area. One of the local business had constructed to make the area look a little nicer. I climbed onto the raised flower bed and stood there, hoping that the water level would receded before it could reach me.
Did I not write hoping?
Nope, you said hopping. Hopping that the water level would receded before it could reach me. As luck would have it, I found the one street in the city where the water level never reached more than a couple of feet before sinking back to where it just so happens to find the middle, just the exact middle ground.
Was it State Street?
I feel like it was a couple blocks east of State.
Once I deemed it safe to remove, you were standing in a couple feet of water once you deemed it safe to remove yourself from the found flowery perch.
Well, you know, I don't know what to expect. There could be sudden surge.
I climbed down and began walking back toward my bank branch. On my way back, I ran into a woman on the sidewalk who was screaming and advertising that she had people inside that needed homes. See, things work really fast in his dreams. Like he's already got like people like Red Cross is already there, helping people, just aiding in getting them in homes.
Well, I guess it's pretty easy to have Red Cross there already with how slow that wave was moving.
As I was about to pass her, she stopped me and explained to me that she was the owner of a for-profit organization that, this is actually the size of like a normal one, that would take in families in need and let them stay until they could get back on their feet. She let me know that due to the extensive damage the water from the tsunamis had just caused, she was going to have to shut down for a while and get the proper repairs done on the building. She tells me that she has a mother and a daughter who really need a place to live for a while and thought that I'd be the perfect person to provide a home for them. Like, lady, I don't even know if my house is standing.
But you can provide a house.
She must have been a good
You
sales.
do have like 31,000 something 23 cents, don't you? You're pretty rich.
Yeah, you got that
You
one
can dig
bill.
them in.
That's true. Like how much does it cost?
Like, I have this money. This is all I have. $31,128.23.
All the real money was washed away.
She must have been a good salesperson as I began to feel bad and agreed to take in a mother and child until they could get things sorted out. The owner of the company seemed elated that I had agreed to help and immediately ran over and opened the front door of the building she had been conducting business from. I can hear her scream to her mother, who was located inside the building, that she had found a home for her and her daughter, and that they needed to get packed up as they were leaving right away. I could hear the mother yelling something back, which initiated an even more chaotic response from the owner. I couldn't quite make out what they were saying, but I could definitely see that they were not getting along at the moment. Feeling a bit left out of the loop, I decided to slip past the owner lady and into the foyer area of the building. It's about that moment that I hear the owner yell at the mother, "I know you peed on my clothes, but I got you back. I pooped on your shirt." She then cackled and stepped back out onto the sidewalk to continue soliciting free families in need. See, she just basically wants to get rid of these people. She's like, these ladies, they need a home. They don't have a home. Plus, they peed on my clothes. But don't you worry, I pooped on theirs. Feeling some compassion for this poor mother and daughter, I asked them if I could help them get packed up so we can head home. They agreed and guided me to an upper floor where the room they had been staying in was located. As I helped them pack their belongings, I hear the daughter ask her mother, "Did that woman really poop on your shirt?" The mom replies with, "Yes." But joke's on her, because she let me borrow that shirt a couple weeks ago. Shirt actually belongs to her. She pooped on her own shirt. Burn. Danny's subconscious. It's like, I get her back. It's actually her shirt. The little girl laughs at this, as do I. I tell the two of them it's time to go, and that's when I woke up. Oh. It's devious. Joke's on her. I borrowed that shirt from her a couple weeks back. That's her shirt she pooped on.
That was a good twist ending, huh?
Yes, very good twist. All right. On to Dream Snippet number 8 in total, but 2 for today. It's called
/number 8.
The Basement!
With an exclamation?
Yes.
I got carried away with the exclamations on these.
I find myself enjoying a nice cup of coffee at a new local coffee shop with some friends.
Are you, what's his name? The guy who plays on Batman. Alfred.
Yeah. Michael Caine.
Yeah, Michael Caine.
Ironically, one of those people just so happens to be an ex-girlfriend from years ago. Anyway, as I sit there enjoying the warm beverage and listening to live music, I catch a glimpse of a small old-school VHS video rental store tucked away in the back corner of the coffee shop. This, of course, piques my interest, and I slowly make my way into that direction. Once there, I begin to browse the handful of shelves that this video store was using to display various movies. He just doesn't want to tell us that this is like the porn section back there.
The back corner of the...
I saw a small adult video room only separated by a doorway with beads hanging.
How often have you frequented?
If you see any movie, it's on it. I get excited as I see many titles of movies I enjoyed quite thoroughly as a kid.
Man, you started early.
As I perused the aisles, my ex-girlfriend walked up behind me and showed some excitement of her own as she saw titles that she must have enjoyed as a child. I want to know what these titles are. Again, to make a long story short, I'm not sure why I was letting my ex call the shots.
You're there with your ex?
He has to slip in there just so that people don't think that he's a wuss, like he's letting his ex-girlfriend call the shots. But before I knew it, we were leaving the video rental store with an ancient movie I've never even heard of that was originally filmed in the 1960s. Ancient. And an old tattered journal that only had about 2 pages left in it that were not written on yet. I don't know why anyone would want to rent a journal to write private thoughts in and then just have to return them to the store in a couple of days for all to see. But alas, it happened.
The journal was tattered.
It was a tattered mess.
A bit disappointed in the choices that were made at the video rental store, I decided to head home. When I arrived at home, I decided to head down into the basement for some reason. I think I had something I wanted to take downstairs to store, but I'm not positive. Anyway, once I stepped foot into my basement, I looked around in awe, as I always forget just how big my basement is. It's unfinished at the moment, but it has a massive amount of square footage, and the ceilings are incredibly high. Especially,
it sounds like I'm bragging about the weirdest thing.
Especially for a basement. I take a moment to envision what it would be like when we do finish it and get excited at the potential possibilities. Freaking nerd. However, the one thing I don't love about our basement right now is all of the various items and boxes we have stored down there. Everything was just haphazardly
You're the one who was
placed.
bringing something down to the store.
I know. You're the one adding to it.
I hate this. Add another box.
But now I remember I hate it once I got down there.
Everything was just haphazardly placed and laying around with no rhyme or reason to it. I really can't wait to get this all cleaned up and organized someday. It's at about this moment that my nose got a whiff of something pungent. I spend the next couple of minutes weaving my way through and around boxes in hopes of locating the source of this rank smell. Eventually, I was able to pinpoint the problem. In one of the unfinished rooms in the basement, we had apparently laid out an old carpet as a form of cheap padding once upon a time. Unfortunately, this old carpet was now soaked in urine and was stinking up the joint. Who is peeing all over this carpet? I thought to myself.
Lady from the previous stream or something?
She's just sneaking in there, squatting.
Yeah, maybe.
The first thing that came
Danny's
to my...
like, joke's on her. I borrowed this carpet from her last weeks ago.
The first thing that came to mind was a memory of finding a hole in our basement that led to a tunnel that is
kind of like a cave
that a series of homeless people had dug. A series of homeless people?
Like a bunch of them, they work together.
Like a chain gang of homeless people.
You can just see him just like digging a holes, digging a holes, digging.
Passing little bowls of like the dirt they've excavated out through the back. Like it's a prison break or something.
I remember finding a bunch of them squatting in my basement, unbeknownst to me years ago. Wait, you didn't know? You found a bunch of them squatting, but you didn't know about it.
Well, like when I found them, I didn't know that they had dug this hole, and now we're just like living in my basement.
Oh, okay. Got it. Until I accidentally... What? I can't say it.
What is it?
Until I accidentally stumble across it. He cannot type the word stumble.
Was that in the last snip?
Yes.
Or was that in the last dream?
No, just the last snips that we read. He wrote the word stubble.
I think your spell correction is just like
Until I
off.
Because spelling checks, it's spelled right. It's just not the right word.
should have had a blue line under it.
Yeah.
There's no be like, this does not make sense.
You would think, but I don't.
Until I accidentally stumble across them when night. Accidentally stumble across them when
It's supposed to be one night.
Danny, this sentence is so messed up, and I'm sorry I have to keep going back, but I keep running into things. All right.
Were you still asleep when you wrote this?
This is like the smallest sentence, too. There's like 12 words. Until I accidentally stumble across them when I had to go down into the basement. I had to kick them all out and thought that I had covered and blocked of the tunnel that led into our basement. I decided to walk around and see if I could find the entrance to that tunnel again so that I ensure that it was still blocked off. If for some reason the blockade had been breached and more homeless people were staying down here, that could explain the urine I found all over our carpet. I'm sorry, I would be freaking out if there was some tunnel that was leading homeless people into my basement to where they would just use that as their bathroom.
All you did was like, I'm gonna block it off. Like, you don't call the police. You don't try and refill the tunnel or fix it. It's like, I'll put like a bookshelf in front of it.
As I walked around the basement looking for this opening, I caught a glimpse of a small creature stirring about. The animal was roughly the size of a cat, but looked more like a fox. Could it have been a fox? Just curious if that's a possibility.
I guess they are similar sized.
It moved around by doing a series of cartwheels in quick succession, all the while chuckling like a hyena. This was a strange sight indeed. However, this being did more than make me curious. Instead, it helped me to remember something about this basement that I had forgotten. There was a portal to another dimension. Located.
How bad is your memory?
Oh, yeah. I remember, like, you forget that there's homeless people down there. You forget that there's a portal to a different dimension. There's a portal to a different dimension located in my basement that led to a land full of strange and weird creatures. The worst of which was the catfish dragons. Which would... He's like the worst. It's like, I hate those catfish dragons.
I guess catfish like kind of do look like Chinese dragons, like the face.
With much haste, I ran toward the area in which the portal resided in hopes that I could close it before one of these foul beasts could once again make its way through. Unfortunately, just as I slid to a stop in the room the portal was in, I could see that I was too late. A large 200 to 300 pound catfish dragon had already made its way through the portal and was making itself at home in my basement. This is the fiend that peed all over my carpet, I realized. Not the homeless people. Sorry, homeless people. Forgot about this portal.
These homeless people are just being blamed for nothing because you couldn't remember about a portal in your basement that led to catfish dragons.
Without further hesitation, I quickly look around for an object that I can use to fend it off while I cox it back. Cox it back.
It's a coax.
Is that how you spell coax? I don't think that is. Well, I cox it back.
C-O-A-X?
Yeah, he put C-O-X. Well, I cox it back toward the portal. Luckily, next to my feet, I find a couple of broken and split 2x4s and pick them up. Oh, good thing you didn't have to look for very long. I look around for an object. You're like looking around and just don't look on the floor next to your feet. Now that I have my weapons in hand, I begin to scream and yell at the catfish dragon in order to get its attention. Once it's focused on me, I know that it will begin to chase me in hopes of having itself a nice Danny dinner. This whole plan works like a charm as it follows me while I poke at it with my sticks. I slowly work my way backward toward the portal opening. However, here is where it gets a bit complicated. This is where it gets complicated. You see, the portal entrance is covered by a series of... This is the third time you've used the word series. Covered by it. You've had a series of homeless people, a series of like cartwheels, and a series of catfish dragons. So entrance is covered by a series of catfish dragon, all stacked one inside another. In other words, around the outside is the largest catfish dragon I have defeated.
It's a Russian doll dragon.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This was the first one that I found in my basement. Each time another catfish dragon makes its way through the portal, I must then push it back toward the portal opening. Get it to retreat back into the mouth of the previous, but now dead catfish dragon. Then grab my trusty baseball bat I had stashed next to the portal. So he obviously forgot that he had a bat next to the portal and smacked the catfish dragon over the head with all my strength. This blow to the head causes the beast to die instantly. Its eyes will roll back into its head and its mouth will open and lock in an agape fashion.
Ready for the next one to go into its mouth.
The reason I do all of this in such a precise manner is because with each additional catfish dragon that enters my realm, I'm able to force the portal entrance to shirk in size. It's shirk. It should be to shirk in size. Hence, each catfish dragon that makes its way through must be small enough to fit through the mouth of the previous catfish dragon that I have killed in front of the portal. My hope is that someday I will have killed enough catfish dragons in this manner to basically close off and seal the portal opening so that no further creatures from the other dimension may be able to make its way through. I stare at my handiwork for a few moments, satisfied with the progress I've made thus far. This is when I woke up.
So he's done this so many times before, but he never remembers. He's always like, oh yeah, the portal.
Who peed on my carpet?
Damn it, homeless people.
Look at that cat-sized fox-looking thing. Look at him doing cartwheels. Oh, yeah, there's a portal to another dimension down here. Totally forgot. I mean, look over there, that big old freaking catfish dragon that I killed.
And then the less big old catfish, and then the little slightly smaller catfish dragon.
All I can say is that apparently this was a high trafficked basement. There's tunnels and portals galore.
Probably came through that portal. That was a perfect place because they had tons of food. Because like you got homeless people just hanging out down there. They're like, food. But okay, that was one of your stranger ones. I'll admit.
Which part? The catfish dragons?
Danny, all of it. The whole thing. Okay. On to the last one. Number 9 in total. Number 3 for today. It's called The Purple Haze. ...
Finally. No exclamation point.
Yep. I'm at school when the... Are you at school? You don't go to school.
Oh, no.
Why are you dreaming so much about school?
It just happens.
I'm
I'm either at work or at school almost always. If I'm not, apparently I'm at coffee shops perusing their VHS sections.
Or you're sleeping in your dream.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You
That
sleep
too.
quite a bit. Sorry, just yawned. I'm at school when the strangest thing starts to happen. As I walk through the halls, I can periodically see a poof. Purple smoke. Flare up, then disappear. Much like the smoke you'd imagine a magician would use as a distraction during the magic show.
Where'd he go?
I didn't even mean to write a poof. What did I write?
A poof of purple smoke. I just paused after I said poof. Just because it was funnier that way. Although I found it odd to begin with. It wasn't until the 3rd or 4th time I saw this same poof of smoke that I really began to get concerned with what it could be.
Let me guess. Something to do with a portal you forgot about.
You'll have to find out.
Just then, another poof of purple smoke flared up into the air, and the crowd around it all began to run and scream in a panic. Once the crowd dispersed, I could make out a small, furry creature moving around on the hallway floor. I leaned toward it, trying to get a better view of what this little thing was, when it sudden sprang into action and started lunging towards students, ravenously scratching and clawing at them. It was at that moment that I realized that this little monster was a gremlin. I, along with everyone else in the vicinity, began to run in the opposite direction as this little Tasmanian-like devil. Period. That's the end of the sentence.
I'm not going to lie. I had to write this today as quickly as possible to get ready.
However, it did not take long for me to see more purple smoke poofs go off and consume students around me. Once the smoke dissipated, all that was left, the students, was another gremlin. This is when I realized that the purple smoke was turning people into gremlins. Not wanting to become the next gremlin, or worse, a gremlin snack, and bobbed and weaved my way through the school halls, avoiding any purple smoke I could see. Eventually, I began to be chased by a gremlin that seemed a bit bigger than the other gremlins I had just seen. I ran as fast as I could until I ended up cornered in a classroom on the 2nd floor of the school. Strangely, this classroom was 2-tiered, and the lower tier had been flooded. With the water, I could see desks and chairs floating around, in addition to a wooden floor. I like how it's flooded on the second floor. Not having May options at the moment, as a gremlin was just second behind me. Second, sorry. You did put an S. As a gremlin was just seconds behind me, I made the executive decision to jump into the water. Hence, I did just that. I made the decision to jump into the water. Hence, that's exactly what I did.
This is what you get when it is one straight through, like, I got 20 minutes. Go.
Swam to the floating wood door and climbed on top of it. The gremlin that chased me into the room burst through the entryway.
Wait, on the floating what?
Door. There's like a wooden door also just floating.
Basically,
Titanic.
Yeah, he's in Titanic.
Which you already had a dream about.
Yeah. So the gremlin that chased me into the room burst through the entryway, but stopped dead in his tracks as soon as he saw the water. Because the water is what, like stopped exactly at the doorway?
No, like, so the classroom is 2-tiered.
Yeah, so he's on the top tier?
Yeah. So there was like a top tier, and then it went down at one point, and there's like stairs, and then there's a lower tier.
Okay.
I think it was like an art room.
All right.
And then, but the lower tier was full of water.
He then began to pace back and forth at the water's edge, hoping that I would eventually get out of the water. Interesting, I thought to myself. Looks like these gremlins hate water. I then laid back on the floating door, rested
How
my
did you know that?
He stopped.
Rested my head on the backpack and presumed to just float around on this small island of solitude for the next few hours.
So it's like, wait, you haven't watched Game of Thrones, have you?
I watched the first 4 seasons.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
Maybe 3.5.
I had hoped that the gremlin would have become disinterested during this time. Unfortunately, he did not, and was still just pacing back and forth at the water's edge. Luckily, these past few hours weren't a complete waste of time, as I could tell that the gremlins was slowly growing taller and taller as time ticked by. So now I knew something else about these creatures. Not only were they created from the purple smoke, but they also got taller the longer they were a gremlin. I would be able to use this knowledge to gauge the rough age of a gremlin as I encountered more of them in the future. Okay.
Why do you care about how old they are?
I like how he looks at this as like, time well spent. Floating on this door. I have deduced that the longer they are gremlins, the bigger they get.
You're happy about the fact that the longer you wait, the more powerful and big this gremlin gets that's trying to get you. It's like,
And he's happy about it because then later on when he runs into him, he can be like, oh, hey, I bet you're 20 hours old.
It might throw him off. Like,
How do you know? Okay. At this time, I finally decided I'd have to find an alternate exit route, as it became apparent this gremlin wasn't going anywhere soon. I slowly paddled my way toward a window that was half submerged and spent the next few minutes trying to open it. After several attempts, I was successful and climbed out of the window and jumped down on the ground a story below. I then proceeded to run toward home, all the while hiding from and avoiding gremlins I came across on the way. Of course, with each gremlin I came across, I would guesstimate roughly how many hours old they were depending on their height. Once home, I found a note on the kitchen counter from my wife. She had let me know that she had taken the kids to her friend hair salon, located on the top floor of the Little America Hotel, to get haircuts. I looked out the window of my house.
not haircuts again.
Yeah, I know. I looked out the window of my house that overlooked the valley below and could see giant purple smoke clouds popping up all over the place. I knew it wouldn't take long for those purple smoke clouds to reach the area in which my wife and kids were at the moment. I then booked it over to the Little America Hotel and ran into the lobby. So far, everyone inside the hotel seemed fine and oblivious to what was going on in the city all around them. I made my way toward the grand staircase that spiraled around and around each floor, making its way up toward the top of the building. They don't actually have one of those, but
In my dream,
sadly, they have a grand staircase that goes up to the second floor, but does not wind up throughout all floors. Sadly,
Couldn't just take the elevator. You just had to be like, I'm going to run all the way up.
Well, I don't want to be trapped just in case in an elevator.
Sadly, I wasn't as early as I thought I'd be, as sporadic purple smoky vapors started springing up to and fro, consuming unsuspecting patrons of the hotel. I was the only one that knew what was going on and had to run as fast as I could up the stairs just to outpace the purple smoke. Suddenly, I found myself on the top floor and found my family in the hair salon. I quickly explained to them what was going on, and they agreed to come with me right away. How did you convince them? Guys, there's this purple smoke. It's following me. And every time, I was at school. And then all of them, when there's purple smoke, it turns them into gremlins. Come with me right away. Okay, Dad. I trust you. I'd be like, you are freaking off your rocker, bro.
I spent several hours floating on a door, and I deduced that they grow at a steady rate.
Yes, I used my time wisely. We then did our
I guess
best.
that is useful information if you're trying to find like the first one, the Genesis one that started it all,
biggest.
to kill it, and then maybe like that would kill all the rest.
So, like, these gremlins, in your opinion, are of a hive mind?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
I never figured that out. I will tell you that much.
We then did our best to escape from this hotel and ran toward a building we had become aware of that was supposed to be some kind of safe haven from the purple smoke and gremlins. Guys, I've heard that there's a place that's safe for people like us from the purple haze and gremlins. I know I've only been running from them for like the last couple hours, but once inside this new building, we all breathed a sigh of relief and started to calm down. I told my family that I could really use a shower and went and stood in line to take a shower in the public bathroom. As I waited in line, I could see something else strange starting to occur. The skin on some of the men in front of me slowly became to turn from flesh-colored to a bluish silvery
Became
hue.
to?
Yeah, he said became to. Slowly became to turn from flesh-colored to a bluish silvery hue. Not quite knowing what was going on, but smart enough to know that I did not want to wait around, naked in a shower with a bunch of these men to find out. I hastily exited the line and ran back to my family. Again, I explained to them what I had just seen and deemed this safe haven no longer safe. Hey, guys. All right. You'll never know. You'll never guess what I just saw. I was waiting in line to get in the shower, and all these dudes just started turning a silvery bluish hue. We are no longer safe. We then did our best to escape from this. Oh, I already read that. Okay. Once again, the family and I found ourselves wandering the streets in hopes of finding a place to escape. It's at that moment that I looked up at an apartment building that was advertising units that were laid out at 90-degree vertical angles that were for rent. Okay. Somewhere in the recesses of my mind, I could remember that gremlins only like to be on flat ground. So, living in an apartment that was vertical would more than likely keep my family and I safe. Ecstatic with our newfound luck, I entered the apartment building to inquire about putting down a deposit for a month's rent for a vertically placed unit. This is when I woke up.
What are you talking about? Vertical? What? Vertically placed?
So,
unit?
like, the apartment, instead of, like, being like this, everything is on a 90-degree angle. And, like,
So the floor is on this wall.
And so everything's bolted to the wall.
And you're going to live there?
but gremlins hate that.
sort of like
Didn't you know that?
you gotta get to the fridge, you have to take a ladder.
In gremlin lore, they hate water and vertical apartments.
So I figured we'd be safe as long as we lived in the vertical apartment.
How do you take a shower in that? It's all the water falls this way.
I don't know. I never got that far.
All right, well, there's 3 dreams for you with our 3rd volume of Dream Snippets. Just a reminder of what those are. Of course, that was Tsunami in Salt Lake City, The Basement, and The Purple Haze. So
We should just have a vote. Which one was your guys' favorite?
The basement.
the basement one was basement one was best, but and anytime you can't say stumble, but all right. Well, thank you guys for listening. We really do hope that you are enjoying these as much as we are. So make sure that you check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at QCO Podcast, and visit our website at QCOpodcast.com. We do, and you're listening to us on some sort of platform: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitch, or whatever. You can find us anywhere. So just Google it, type it in, find QCO Podcast.
I know
Listen in.
there's lots of
Actually,
platforms out there.
But do include podcasts, because I've tried to Google just Q code, and there's some weird computer programming.
Oh yeah,
company.
we're not computer guys. Maybe Alan, but
So
we're
Q code podcast.
So thanks again for listening. We also ask that you give us 5-star review and or whatever. At this point, I'll just take whatever. So just give us a review. Tell us what you like and what you don't like, and we will, maybe get our feelings hurt for just a second, but we should be okay. But thanks again, guys, for listening. We'll catch you next week.